Hello, clever people, and welcome to my review for A Quiet Place. So A Quiet Place is written, directed, and stars John Krasinski, and also stars his wife Emily Blunt, and it follows the story of a family in a post-apocalyptic near future where there are alien creatures that have invaded Earth from an unknown source. They never really make clear exactly where the creatures come from, but these creatures are blind. They don't really have any other senses other than the sense of sound, so they can hear things. So basically a normal sound to us, like the dropping of or like the opening of a bag of chips, would be like way louder, like 100 times louder to them. So it would sound like an explosion basically. So what this family needs to do in order to survive is stay quiet, and it follows the family as they live their lives under such tough situations. So A Quiet Place is a movie I was really looking forward to after its premiere at, I believe it was South by Southwest is where it first premiered, because I don't think it premiered at Sundance, but it came out to rave reviews. A lot of people were calling it an incredibly intelligent and smart horror movie that would definitely resonate with audiences, which I was super excited for. And also, I was interested in John Krasinski as a director, because his other two works, I haven't seen them, but I hear that they aren't great. But I thought that a guy like this, maybe with a bigger budget, could make something better, because his other two films were small budgets and they didn't really seem to have a whole lot of passion behind them. So I was excited to see what he would do, and the trailers look good. And I came out of A Quiet Place so excited. I really loved this movie. I said back in my Get Out review back in 2017, about a year and a couple months ago, that with Get Out coming out and being so financially successful, being the most profitable movie of the year and everything, I thought that it would inspire a lot of studios to invest their money in creative minds to create well-done horror movies rather than spending easy amounts of money on terrible directors that will just direct anything, and they end up making really bad horror movies that just make back their budgets on opening weekend. Because what Get Out was able to do was that it was in the same situation as every other horror movie made by a bad director that comes out and just makes its money back on opening weekend. Yet, because of the hype and the praise around it, it boomed out with 30 million opening, and it dropped a small 15% and just dropped small increments from there. And from the box office returns of A Quiet Place so far, I think that this movie could be the exact same way. Projections were about 25 to 30 million for opening weekend, and it made 50. And I really wouldn't be surprised if by next weekend, when reports come in, that this movie only dropped 20% or so. And I think that it might be a term in film school even, the Get Out effect, where after Get Out came out, more original horror movies came out, and I believe that A Quiet Place is probably the first step in those type of films, because this movie is just terrifically crafted. It is scary and so nerve shredding. It is just, you won't be on the edge of your seat from the beginning, but about 30 to 40 minutes in, you will be there, and you will stay there for the entire runtime, because this movie, it does take moments to take breaths, but even then you don't feel really all that safe. You always feel like there's an imminent danger going on, and I think that that was achieved through the really good creature design, which I think a lot of people are undermining how well designed and well created these creatures were with their ears and everything. I thought that that was really cool, and also some really convincing performances. The performances in this film far exceed most horror movies, and pretty much every horror movie this year and maybe even this decade, because these performances are so genuine. I can't say this without spoiling it, but there is a certain scene with John Krasinski towards the end of the film where he does something, not using any words, that has so much emotion in it that I kind of broke down while watching it. It was amazing. It was incredible what he was able to do, because he's always been kind of like a doofy guy and who people don't take all that seriously because he was in The Office and a bunch of comedies. But after this movie, he's gonna be taken seriously. Not only did he write and direct an original horror movie that opened with 50 million, but he gave a heartfelt and just personal performance that really resonated with me. It's surprising that Emily Blunt, I think, was actually the weaker actor in comparison to them two. Emily Blunt is still amazing, though, as are the kid actors. I think I've said it before and I'll say it again, kid actors get way too much hate because even though they are really bad in certain situations, when they're really good, they are really good, and A Quiet Place is a great example of that. Yeah, obviously, one of the kids is deaf, which really did help with their performance, but the emotions that they show in their faces without using words is stuff that you wouldn't be able to see in 90% of actors who are over 18, and they were able to pull it off, and that was incredible. But what really makes A Quiet Place memorable and what makes it stand out is with its horror and everything, it still has really strong themes about parenthood and raising children. It's funny how both movies that opened on April 6th, Blockers and A Quiet Place, both had to do with raising children and protecting children and how to basically raise them so that they can be better versions of yourself. And obviously two very different movies with the same theme, which is really cool to see. But the theme in this film is just handled so well because every single character gets to have their scene. They get to have scenes by themselves and they get to have scenes where they interact with people, which help get a feel of the relationships in the movie. Every single relationship is given at least one moment to shine. Even if it's the daughter and the son, the mother and the son, which is a relationship that isn't really necessary in the movie, it is shown in one of the scenes, and it's really, really well thought out and well planned. And that helps you with the understanding of how this family operates, revolving around something, I don't want to spoil it, but that brought out a lot of emotion, and it's the reason I think that these performances were so strong. So in the end, A Quiet Place is an incredibly scary, really well-crafted, and overall heartfelt movie about what it means to be a parent and what it means to protect your children. It's got an ending that you will never forget. It will stay with you forever just because of how satisfying it is to watch. I'm really amazed at how John Krasinski was able to create such a creative horror film, and it brought me back to watching Get Out. Get Out was one of my favorite movies from last year because just the feeling that it gave me watching it, knowing that I wasn't watching a cheaply made horror movie, that I was watching a creative mind display their vision on screen so well and that people were loving it, it was such a nice feeling. And I got that again with A Quiet Place, and I think you will get that with a lot of horror movies coming up in the next few years. I will give A Quiet Place an 8.5 out of 10. Alright, that concludes my review for A Quiet Place. So, what are your thoughts on this film, or what is your favorite, thriller horror film? Comment in the comment section below and let me know. I'm Robert Burke, and this has been The Clever Critics. Goodbye.